Okay, so get ready because things are about to get a little strange. We're diving into the world of Psychic Sasquatch.
Huh?
You heard me right. Psychic Sasquatch. We'll be looking at excerpts from the Psychic Sasquatch and their UFO connection. And this is by Jack Kwani Lapsaritis. And Backmore, I know what you're thinking. Psychic Sasquatch and UFOs. Really? Trust me, I get it. It's a lot to process.
It's definitely out there.
It is.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so fascinating to dig into. So our mission today is to try and understand Lapsaritis' claims and really what they mean for our understanding of science and even reality itself. You know, like, what if he's onto something here?
It's a thought-provoking premise for
Right.
sure.
It really is. And before you write this off as some crazy conspiracy theory, Lapsaritis actually has a master's degree in science. He comes from a background in anthropology and psychology, so it's not like he doesn't have a scientific mind.
Right, he's not just some random guy.
Exactly. But here's the thing. He doesn't stop at your typical research methods. Lapsaritis claims he's had hundreds of encounters with Sasquatch over almost 2 decades.
Wow, hundreds.
Yeah, and we're not talking about just quick glimpses in the woods. Lapsaritis describes telepathic contacts, strange occurrences, even a personal spiritual transformation. It really makes you question everything you thought you knew about. Well, everything.
That's quite the research methodology.
Tell me about it. I mean, how do you even begin to study something like that?
I can only imagine. How does he even define spiritual transformation, and how does that tie back into his background in science?
Well, according to Lapsaritis, it all started when he began questioning the very foundation of traditional science. He argues that it's just not equipped to handle something like psychic phenomena.
That makes sense in a way.
Right. Like imagine trying to measure telepathy with a ruler.
Exactly.
So he's basically saying we need a completely new way of looking at science, what he calls a dipoled universe.
The dipoled universe. It's a pretty radical concept, challenging that traditional separation of physics and metaphysics, almost suggesting they're intertwined like two sides of the same coin.
So not just separate forces, but working together.
Right, and that a purely materialist understanding of the universe just isn't enough.
He's basically saying there's more to reality than meets the eye, right?
Yeah.
And he uses these Sasquatch encounters as his evidence. But are they really evidence?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. Can anecdotal evidence, no matter how strange or compelling, really challenge our current scientific models?
It's a tough one.
It is. But I guess that's what we're here to unpack. So let's dive into some of these anecdotes. One that really stood out to me was about this woman, MJ, who claimed to have befriended a Sasquatch.
Befriended a Sasquatch. Okay, now I have to hear this one.
So picture this. She's staying in this remote cabin when she starts seeing this large figure outside.
Oh, I'd be terrified.
Right, who wouldn't be? At first she's scared, obviously. But then she starts finding these piles of firewood neatly stacked by her cabin. And we're talking massive logs, like perfectly arranged. And it only gets stranger. She starts hearing a voice in her head, which she believes is the Sasquatch.
Oh, wait, hold on. Telepathic communication. Not just a feeling, but like actual conversations.
Full-blown telepathic conversations. MJ says they discussed everything from the weather to human relationships. The Sasquatch was particularly fascinated by the concept of marriage, actually.
Really?
Yeah, especially the role of a husband.
It's like the Sasquatch is trying to understand human social cues. It really makes you question everything we thought we knew about them.
Totally.
Like, are they really these simple creatures, or are they more intelligent than we give them credit for?
And MJ was adamant that these conversations were real. She said she felt a distinct intelligence and even a gentleness in its communication.
That's incredible.
It is. But how much of this can we take at face value? Memory can be unreliable, and it's easy to misinterpret events, especially when it comes to something as strange and frightening as this.
You're right. We have to be careful about jumping to conclusions. But at the same time, completely dismissing these encounters might not be the answer either.
So where do we draw the line?
Exactly.
It's a tough one. And it gets even stranger because a lot of these encounters, according to Lapsaritis, don't just involve Sasquatch. He claims they often happen alongside UFO sightings and other unexplained events.
Okay, so now we're going even deeper down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. This is where things get really interesting. For example, Lapsaritis talks about this man, Mark, who claims he was led by these small, hairless beings to an underground city.
An underground city. This is starting to sound like a sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
Okay, so tell me more about the city.
Well, according to Mark, this city was extremely advanced, filled with strange lights, and inhabited by these beings that look like a mix between humans and something else. He even suggests that the Sasquatch are aware of these beings and their city, like they coexist in this hidden subterranean world.
Okay, so now we have to ask, is there any real evidence to support these claims? Or are we relying solely on these anecdotal accounts?
That's something Lapsaritis grapples with throughout the book. He acknowledges that his research is pushing the boundaries of traditional science
For sure.
and that it relies a lot on personal experiences.
Hmm.
But he argues that our current way of thinking about science is too limited.
He has a point.
He believes it needs to expand to include a wider range of phenomena, even if they seemed impossible or challenge everything we thought we knew.
It's a fascinating argument, and it really makes you think about the nature of reality itself.
It does. And whether there's more out there than we realize. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if our understanding of reality is just the tip of the iceberg?
It's a mind-blowing concept, for sure.
It is. And Lapsaritis doesn't stop at just broadening scientific inquiry. He's advocating for a whole new approach.
Yeah.
He calls it a holistic perspective. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's a really important part of his argument. He believes that traditional science, with its emphasis on isolating and measuring things, it misses the bigger picture. It's like studying each individual brushstroke instead of stepping back and appreciating the entire painting.
So how do we apply that to something like psychic phenomena?
Exactly. He suggests that to truly understand these experiences, we need to consider everything. Not just the experience itself, but the person's state of mind, their environment, even their cultural background.
It's like he's saying we're all part of the experiment.
In a way, yes. He even suggests that the very act of observing something might actually influence the phenomenon we're trying to study.
So we can't separate ourselves from the research.
Right, and he touches on ideas from quantum physics, where observation itself has been shown to affect the behavior of particles.
It's like our minds have a tangible impact on the world around us.
Potentially. It's a powerful concept.
It is. But how do we even begin to study something like that scientifically?
Right, how do we reconcile these subjective experiences with the rigor of the scientific method?
It's a tough one. It's not like we can just put consciousness in a test tube.
Exactly.
So where do we go from here?
Well, Lapsaritis suggests we look to other fields that already deal with subjective experiences, like anthropology, psychology, even art.
So instead of just looking at data, we need to factor in human experiences.
Right, because these fields offer tools for understanding complex human experiences, things that can't easily be measured or quantified.
And maybe that's what we've been missing in our attempts to understand psychic phenomena.
It's possible. Imagine if instead of just measuring brainwaves during a psychic experience, we also analyze the individual's personal history, their beliefs, their emotional state.
We might get a much clearer picture that way.
Exactly.
And Lapsaritis talks a lot about the importance of respecting different ways of knowing, learning from indigenous cultures and traditions.
Cultures that have long explored these realms of consciousness and spirituality.
It's like he's saying that our modern society, with all its technology and rationality, maybe we've lost touch with something important.
He suggests that our perception of the world might actually be limited, not because these other realities don't exist, but because we haven't developed the tools or even the mindset to perceive them.
So it's not just about discovering something new. It's about changing our understanding of reality itself.
It's a pretty profound idea when you think about it.
It is. But how do we even begin to facilitate that kind of change?
Well, he doesn't give us a step-by-step guide, but he emphasizes the importance of certain qualities: open-mindedness, respect for nature, a deep connection to all living things.
He even suggests that people who possess these qualities are more likely to have encounters with Sasquatch.
Almost as if these beings are drawn to certain frequencies or vibrations.
And that negativity or fear might actually create a barrier.
It's a fascinating concept.
Like in that case with the woman who claimed she could summon thunderstorms.
Oh yeah, what about that?
Lapsaritis believes she wasn't just using willpower, but tapping into a deeper connection with the natural world.
He suggests that ability might be more common than we think.
If only we knew how to access it.
It's a tantalizing thought, but it also raises some questions about potential biases in research.
Yeah, that's so.
Well, if we go into it already believing that certain qualities are necessary, are we more likely to interpret the data in a way that confirms those beliefs?
So how do we balance open-mindedness with scientific objectivity?
It's a tricky balance to strike, for sure.
And that's something Lapsaritis acknowledges. He stresses the importance of documentation and analysis, but also admits that studying something like psychic phenomena requires a different approach. a willingness to step outside our comfort zones.
To really immerse ourselves in the research.
Exactly. He calls it immersive research.
So what does that look like in practice?
Essentially, it's about spending extended periods of time in the field, not just observing, but actively participating.
Engaging with the environment and the phenomena directly.
Exactly.
So it's not just about studying Sasquatch from a distance, but building relationships with them, seeing them as equals.
He emphasizes the importance of respect and humility, not just treating them as subjects, but recognizing their intelligence, their culture, their own spiritual understanding.
Which aligns with the perspectives of many indigenous cultures, cultures that have coexisted with these beings for centuries.
And Lapsaritis believes we have a lot to learn from these indigenous perspectives, that their knowledge systems might hold clues to unlocking mysteries that our current scientific paradigm can't explain.
It's a call to bridge the gap between traditional knowledge and modern science, to recognize the value of different ways of knowing, and to approach the unknown with curiosity and respect.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
Like all this time, we've been looking at Sasquatch as these almost mythical creatures. But Lapsaritis paints a very different picture. He describes them as intelligent, social, even playful beings.
He does. And there are a lot of stories in the book that seem to back that up.
Right, like that one about the Sasquatch who kept moving those trail cameras around.
Oh, yeah. What was that about?
It wasn't like he was trying to destroy them or anything. Almost like it was messing with the researchers.
Like it knew exactly what it was doing.
Exactly. And remember that story about the Sasquatch who helped that woman change her tire?
That's right.
It makes you wonder if they're capable of empathy or even altruism.
It challenges our assumptions about them and suggests a level of intelligence and social complexity that we might not fully grasp.
Right. And Lapsaritis believes they're capable of even more. Things that seem impossible according to our current understanding of science.
Like what?
Telepathy, manipulating energy fields, even influencing the weather.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. But if even a fraction of it is true, what does it mean for us?
What do you mean?
Well, if Sasquatch can do these things, if they have this connection to something bigger than ourselves, doesn't that mean we might have that potential too?
It's a question a lot of people have asked throughout history. Many cultures have beliefs about psychic abilities, about the power of the mind to influence the physical world.
And maybe those beliefs weren't so far-fetched after all.
It's possible. Maybe we've simply forgotten or neglected those abilities.
It's like we've been so focused on the external world, on technology and progress, that we've lost touch with something essential within ourselves.
Lapsaritis seems to think so.
And maybe by reconnecting with that part of ourselves, we can not only understand Sasquatch better, but also unlock our own hidden potential.
It's a powerful idea.
So where does that leave us?
Well, I think it leaves us with a sense of wonder and possibility.
It definitely challenges us to reconsider everything we thought we knew.
About the world, about ourselves, about the very nature of reality.
And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we need a little mystery in our lives.
Maybe we do.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of Psychic Sasquatch. It's been a wild ride. We've explored some strange and thought-provoking ideas. And whether you believe them or not, I hope this conversation has at least made you think, and maybe even question what you thought you knew.
After all, that's what this is all about, isn't it?
It is. Curiosity, open-mindedness, a willingness to explore the unknown. Who knows what we might discover if we just open ourselves up to the possibility.
Exactly.
So until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep an open mind.